Randy Maugans from the Threshing floor. I want to welcome you to this video. I have with me some guests from Saskatchewan.
Not bad, not
bad. Saskatchewan, Canada.
That's it.
They are the members of the Chronicle project, a very interesting project I discovered a few months ago. You can find the website. It is thechronicleproject.org. I came across this website as a result of a listener who sent me a link to it and asked me to take a look at it. So I began to go through the information contained on the website. I discovered, to my delight, that something very unique had come out of this project. I'm going to introduce you to Chris Tyerman. He is the head researcher of the Chronicle project, and he will in turn introduce his team, and then we're going to begin to discuss the dynamics of the Chronicle project and what they have discovered over... How long have you been doing the project, Chris?
About 3.5 years now.
About 3.5 years. Wow. What they've discovered in 3.5 years is quite amazing, and it will probably upend your understanding of your Bible. Chris Tyerman, the head of the Chronicle project, chief researcher and bottle washer.
Mostly the bottle washer part.
Team's worse.
Hi, Randy.
Hello.
Okay, as you heard, I'm Chris.
I'm Dave.
I'm Jennifer. Michelle.
Danielle. Kim.
And that's the team. And
Great.
we're actually awake all at the same time at this moment, just for this interview.
And they are, of course, coming to us from the beautiful mountains of Saskatchewan.
Yes. The rolling mountains of Saskatchewan. Yes.
I'm coming up there skiing next year, by the way.
Okay.
As long as it's cross country,
Right
we'll be
off that
fine.
mountain.
Yeah.
That's where I want to be.
We actually have one just south. It's a place called Cypress Hills. It's actually taller than Banff, and it's the only mountain on the whole thing. So, believe it or not, you can Google that.
It sounds incredible. I know it's cold up there. There's a YouTube video of Chris throwing a glass of water up in the air and watching it turn to ice pellets. It's fantastic. And we'll put some links up on the website with that as well, pointing you to everything that is the Chronicle project. To get back to the core topic here, how would you begin to come into an understanding that what we're looking at with the Hebrew alphabet was in fact what we call glyphs? Glyphs being characters expressed as the Hebrew alphabet, and what you discovered was that these glyphic characters are in themselves words, and that these words are the foundation for what we can only call a new translation of the Hebrew Scriptures.
I guess you could call it that. I'll give you a little background on exactly how we got down this pipe in the first place. Being Jewish, we were studying the Old Testament and working through the very starting book again, as per usual, and it became irritating to us after a while. There's a large selection of rules on how Hebrew is to be translated, how you know at what time a word's supposed to mean what thing, and the rule book is worse than English. And we started to question it. We started to say they're taking sentences and they're literally leaving out words as they translate, or for one time and one time only a word will be a specific word and the rest of the time it's completely different. And to give you an idea of how bad it was, if you take the word Nathan, which is a very simple word, means to give, and take your King James, if you're Christians, and look it up, you'll find that the word to give has been translated 84 different ways. And some of them have nothing to do with the word to give. They have stuff like, would that God? And items like that, and it's really quite unbelievable. So we began to say, if this really is the language of God, or the language of higher beings, how can it be this disjointed? And so we said, if it's not really the way it's supposed to be, if this actually is the language of God, then there should be a lot more intelligent design to this language than it presently shows.
Yes.
So what we did is we went in and we began to attempt to find if there was patterns, or if there was a way of looking at it that would identify a different way that the language was structured, other than the way that it's being presented to us at the moment. Do you want to go a little on what you found?
Okay. Excuse me. Chris had me looking up a word one time, and I'm sitting up there next to him, and I'm flipping through, and I find the word for him, and I give it to him, and he goes to work on the next word, and I'm kind of bored. So, being the little geek that I am, I started reading through the dictionary, and just looking at the Hebrew words and how they were set up and stuff like that, and I ran across the word to tear, and it was very consistent because the first two glyphs were the same, and then there was a third one on the end that was always different. And so there was tear up and tear down and tear off, and every time there was a variant to the word to tear, it changed that last glyph on the end. And it was kind of at that point that we really started noticing there was obviously a pattern to this whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's when we started getting in a little bit deeper.
Yeah. She called me over and she said, do you notice every time they change the glyph on the end of the word that the direction of the word changes? And she said, do you think that that happens every single time? So what we started to do is pull up other words to see if when you had the two, what they call the core set of the Hebrew word, and then you added another one onto the end to see if the direction remained the same every time said glyph was added to it.
You're saying the direction of the word, is that correct, Chris?
That was the first way that we went, simply because the first one that we found to tear was to tear up, to tear down, to tear off,
across,
to tear asunder. You get the idea?
Okay.
And so at this very first part, we thought it was directional. And so we started to look, and as we went through, we found that the pattern remained consistent. So then what we had to do was go through the 6,000 Hebrew words that are listed, and we had to disassemble every single word to see word by word how the addition of a glyph affected the direction. Go ahead.
Okay.
I remember we did this for quite a few words. We were looking for commonalities between the word, the similarities, because you get these words and you get 3, 4, 5, 6 glyph sets sometimes, and you're not exactly sure what the prime base for the word is. And so we started out by looking for the commonalities between all the words. There was one that we ran across, I can't even remember exactly. One was bright and glowing and oil, and it seemed to be the commonality was that sort of yellow color. Gold, I think, was also part of that word. And so we found yellow kind of as the basis for it, but it wasn't quite far enough back yet, so we've kind of been disassembling it and backing it up to find those similarities.
Yes.
Basically, we back-engineered to find how the language originally was constructed and how it originally worked. And it took us about 2.5 to 3 years. And then we got to the point where we assembled what we called the two main glyph sets. The two-letter glyph sets. And I still remember the day because we were sitting at the table. We just about had assembled the meanings because we believed that at the time that the Hebrew was a two-letter glyph set, and then the third one was another word. And then Michelle turned to me out of the blue and said, what if every single letter is its own word? And I poo-pooed that idea.
Which was the first sign that it was right.
The first sign it was right.
My ideas
This
are
is why, of course, you are the leader.
My ideas are usually out to left field too. They're usually away and gone, but every now and then it's a home run.
Every so often she hits a home run.
So we at that point you suspected that these letters were in fact something that was a composite, that with words that expressed something beyond the single letter itself.
Exactly. And what happened is when it was actually at midnight when I finished compiling the two-letter sets.
I think I'd gone home by that
She'd already
point.
gone home because that was 10 in the evening. And I'm sitting there, and as I finished assembling them and I'm sitting reading them, and I look at it, I have this growing horror of the fact that I'm going to have to apologize the next day. And sure
I got razzed quite a bit.
well, we razzed her really bad at the whole concept. Yes, a prophet is never honored in their own research team.
Exactly.
And so she was right. And so what happened is we went back to the drawing board again and applied what we knew to everything, and again spent about another 6 months and honed and honed and honed in order to finally come down with the list of the 22 glyphs and what they actually mean.
The four-letter word around here, it really is the statement. I think we almost have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the sign
Or
that there's
my
something else to
favorite,
come.
yeah, or I'm comfortable with this.
And that's when we get afraid.
Never,
That's
never
when
say
we
those
know
words.
we're wrong.
We're going to take a break here, and we will come back on the other side of this and learn a little bit more about how the Hebrew alphabet may, in fact, be more cryptic than we've ever imagined. I'm Randy Maugans. This is Threshing Floor Video. We will be right back.